Ki. The word was foreign to Quinn. He had never heard of it before or even heard someone mention it. From the way Leo spoke about it, it sounded like some mystic energy that perhaps people used to harness a long time ago. Thinking back, Quinn remembered something Vorden had told him a while ago. At one point, Vorden had managed to copy Leo's powers. Looking at Leo, he could see the same thing he could, yet Vorden could feel his energy at the time was far weaker than Leo's. This might have had something to do with Ki as well. Vorden was only able to copy the amount of MC cells someone had. Could the large energy that Vorden was seeing at the time be Ki? Whatever it was, Quinn wanted to learn about it. He was ready to listen to Leo's story. Back then, during the war, he had been classified as a hero, and he had even seen the power firsthand. Any strength added to his own would be a plus. I was born blind. It wasn't later on in life, and it wasn't during the war, like many people suspect. I never had the eyesight to begin with. I have never seen the color of the sky or the grass. Even before the introductions of abilities, the world was a cruel place. Discrimination existed back then like it does now, but in different forms. As for me, I was abandoned and left outside a temple by my parents. My only guess is they couldn't deal with the idea of raising a blind baby. Although to this day I don't blame them. From what I had learned later on, the country I grew up in was a poor one, and the place even worse. People had children in hopes that they would better their lives in the future, work on the farm, help put in the village, but a blind person would be a disadvantage when it came to these things, and I would only be another mouth to feed. In the end, I think my parents loved me enough to make sure I arrived at a place they could trust, rather than just abandoning me, and for that reason, I can't say I hate them. Quinn had also heard some stories of parents who had given up on their kids after learning their MC cells had a low limit. It seemed rather than getting better, things had only gotten worse in the past. Luckily for me, it wasn't an ordinary temple they had dropped me at. Noticing I was blind, they knew it would be pointless to bring me to an orphanage. If people had the choice of a baby that was perfect or one that couldn't see, it would be a long time until a soul gentle enough would take me in. However, he also felt like he could greatly help me because he was a master of Ki. He ran a dojo and taught many students, and at first, he decided to teach me, not because he wanted me to learn how to fight, but because he thought it would greatly help me grow and navigate my way around. You see, Ki lets you feel the energy of living things around you. In a way, my master felt like if he taught me this, he would be giving me a vision I never had. After years of learning and growing up by my master's side, a strange thing happened. When I mastered how to use Ki, at the same time, I unlocked my ability. At the time, I didn't know this, and abilities weren't widespread and were still kept secret. When I explained what I could see, my master told me not to tell anyone about it, but for the first time, I felt like I could see and join in with my fellow brothers and sisters with their training. My ability helped me progress faster than those around me, as I was able to see the flow of energy that my master would often talk about. While sparring with my fellow brothers, it would give me an advantage. Every human has Ki, but a lot don't know how to grow or use it properly. When one would attack, I would see the Ki move before them. Fast forward several years, and the war with the Dalki had started. The use of weapons didn't work, and it looked like the human race would soon die. I was young and hot-headed back then, but continuously argued with my master, asking why we hadn't gone to join the fight. We were a small group of only 30 students, but I knew with our unique talents, we would be able to help some people at least. However, my master said our home was here, and it wasn't our place. The temple oversaw a small town full of life. It was away from the war and all the fighting. We were up relatively high, and it seemed like nobody had found us yet. But every day I would watch the news of what was going on. That's when people with abilities started to come forward. They began to turn the tide of the war. They were hailed as heroes and continued to be cheered and supported around the whole world. That could have been me, I thought. I was envious of these ability users. We could have helped and also been a part of those groups. Yet even with our power, we did nothing. Later on, the discovery of the portals were made soon after, and that led to beast weapons. The war was still ongoing, and now the world was into heavy recruitment. People didn't have a choice. If you were old enough, you were told to fight. Quinn remembered this time well, for this was also when his mother and father were placed in the war. Knowing this piece of information, I did something I wish I had never done. The small town on top of the mountain was unregistered with any country. Nobody knew of our existence. I didn't want to miss out again. What was the point of having all this power and skill and never being able to use it? Shouldn't we have used it to help the fight? One week I went down to the nearest city and revealed that there was a whole town of people to the World Alliance. They immediately sent in their soldiers and told everyone to relocate. They moved us all to another planet, an orange portal planet at the time. Our job was to defeat the beasts and obtain the crystals, delivering them to the army. They had given us guns that worked against the basic tier beasts, but after that their armor or hide would be too tough. However, they didn't know about our talents, and even without the weapons, we were able to complete our tasks better than they had expected. In return, they finally gave us beast weapons, and we even formed a special unit. The planet had become a peaceful place, and we had managed to make a settlement similar on the planet to what we had back on Earth. But then the Dalki came and attacked. The bulk of us, including my master and me, was out on a hunt for beasts. When our group returned, the whole village had already nearly been destroyed. When we arrived, we could see a single Dalki ship, which usually contained a unit of 12. We fought with them till the bitter end, and the only ones that had survived the fight were my master and me. All of our pupils and everyone in the village had died. It was because of me the whole town had been relocated to the planet. There was a good chance we could have continued living peacefully on Earth. Not only that, but I and my master never spoke again. When telling the story, Quinn could feel the sadness and guilt in his words. "But I don't think it's your fault," Quinn replied. "There was no guarantee they would have never found you on that mountain in the first place. You might have even survived longer moving to the planet. Also, if you do have the power, I don't see why it's wrong to try to fight back." "And this is why I wish to tell you my story, so you don't end up making the same mistake I did," Leo replied. "You see, now at my age, I realized a few things I could have done differently. Why did I have to get the whole town involved in my mess, and my fellow brothers? If I wanted to fight, I could have done it on my own, but no, I was scared. Worse than that, they had things to lose. My master's whole family was in that village, his wife, his kids, and the same for the others. Where I had nothing, I had no family, no one to worry about, and just had my power and skills. Or that's what I thought. When I lost everything, I realized I did have a family, but it was a little too late. From that event, my master and I had gotten quite famous. Since it was the first time a planet or group was able to fend off and kill all the invading Dalkis, I used this as an opportunity. With this huge burden and regret on my back, I decided to take vengeance against the Dalki. I showed the military my powers, something my master told me to never do, and went on the front lines. I fought well and was hailed a hero. I became one of the heroes I had heard about on TV, but when I reached that point, I didn't feel any better about myself, and the praise wasn't as great as I imagined. All I wanted to do was turn back time. I still don't understand everything there is to understand about Ki. When the other students died, it seemed like a part of them was transferred into the beast equipment they were using at the time, or at least their Ki. It's stronger than your standard equipment, but will only work with the use of your own Ki. That is why I cannot give you any of my weapons yet. My master is still out there somewhere. He might be dead. Who knows? Still, if he is dead, then I will be the only one alive who knows how to use this power, and that's why I have decided to teach you." Leo stood up from his seat and walked over to Quinn's side. The pressure coming off his body could be felt all over and was causing Quinn to sweat. It also became difficult to breathe. "Is this Ki?" Even if he wanted to move, it felt like he couldn't, as if an invisible force was surrounding him. "Let me pass on my knowledge to you," Leo said, as he placed his hand on top of Quinn's head. The second Leo placed his hand on top of Quinn's head, he started to try and transfer part of his own Ki into his body, but unlike how he thought it would go, it proved to be a little bit of a struggle. "It feels like something is trying to block the process. The strange purple energy is cutting off my energy," Leo thought. Leo had never tried this before, so he was unsure if this was the standard procedure, or was it because Quinn wasn't exactly human. He attempted again, only this time being a bit more forceful. Even with humans, some bodies were more willing to accept outside forces of power than others. At the same time, this was happening. A message had appeared in front of Quinn. "An unknown energy is attempting to enter your body. Allowing this to enter your body could have unknown consequences. Allow the energy to enter your body. Yes, no. System, I need to ask you, do you think it will be a problem if I accept this key? Quinn asked. I honestly don't know either, the system replied. Just like you, I have never heard of this before. The things that he described humans being capable of doing, a strong vampire would have been able to do them anyway. Our bodies would naturally start to get stronger as we progressed our skills, so we mainly focused on those aspects. This doesn't mean we can't learn ki, but I guess that there was never a need for it in the first place. Quinn was struggling with what to do. If he could learn something that even the vampires didn't know, then wouldn't this allow him to gain a slight edge? At the same time, the system was always eager to help him, unlike the system AI who chose to keep secrets. However, judging by the fact that the system had named ki an unknown substance, would most likely also mean that whoever created the system didn't know of ki either. So is the system just trying to be extra safe? If it were me, I would do it, the system said. I don't see a huge downside, and I can't imagine this teacher of yours wanting to hurt you. Besides, it would be quite an interesting experiment to see, don't you think? Yeah, with me as the lab rat, who's the one going to take the fall for it if anything went wrong, Quinn replied. After thinking about it for a while, he eventually decided to take the plunge. Yes. If Leo can give this strange power to me, then if anything went wrong, he should be able to take it back as well. If he wanted to hurt me, he would have done so many times already. And this is his leaving gift. Too many people have already left, and I have nothing to remember them by, Quinn thought. The energy that Leo was trying to share suddenly started to go through. There was nothing different on his end, apart from being more forceful. He didn't quite understand what was happening, but went along with it anyway. The only frame of reference he had was what his master had done to him. As this energy passes through, I want you to remember this feeling. In a moment, my ki will join with yours. I have put in a small amount that shouldn't be able to take or damage yours in any way. I only have done this to guide it around your body. With his eyes closed, Quinn started imagining it. He could feel a glowing feeling traveling from down his head into his body like a little ball of bright light. It carried on moving through his body until it eventually reached his belly. That's when the size of the energy started to grow. The two energies appear to have attached, said Quinn. Good, you're a fast learner like I was. Still attached to Quinn's head, Leo started to move the energy around so Quinn could get the hang of the feeling. He moved it from his hand to the edge of his fingertips, to his toes, and continued to move it around his body. When you learn to control this feeling yourself, you can start to implement it into things you touch, including weapons. Not only will you be able to activate beast gear as others do, but you will be able to do a second unlocking. Now, this doesn't work on all equipment, and usually only high-level equipment. This second unlocking is basically what we currently call a weapon skill. Have you ever thought why, when forgers create a weapon, even if they both use the same material, one weapon can have a skill attached to it and one cannot? It's because, without realizing it, they have learned how to harness ki into their forging techniques to create this second unlocking. It had been a long time since the two had been doing this, and Quinn hadn't even realized it. He had been so calm and focused on the feeling. It was as if he had entered a peaceful state. He couldn't tell what was going on outside and only focused on the energy. Okay, the session is over. I will now move the energy out of your body. This can feel a little weird, so bear with me, and you may also feel a little weak after, Leo explained. The force that was in his stomach suddenly split from the larger force. It felt as if someone had reached down into his throat and pulled something from Quinn's stomach. It surely was an uncomfortable feeling for him. The energy traveled upward and eventually stopped at the top of his head, where Leo's hand was placed. Once again, Leo could feel his energy stuck there. The purple aura that surrounds Quinn's body started to gather around the top half of Quinn's upper body, as if it didn't like what Leo was trying to do. The unknown energy is trying to leave your body. Do you want to allow the energy to leave your body? Yes? No? The same type of message had appeared when Leo tried to take out the ki, but before Quinn could reply, and while he was reading the message, Leo continued to try to take the energy out from Quinn forcefully. Last time I struggled a bit as well. Maybe I just need to be a little more forceful? At worst, I will only take some of the boy's energy that he will reign over time. Okay, I'm just going to pull a little harder. It shouldn't hurt, but that strange feeling, you might feel it again, Leo explained. No, wait! Quinn shouted, but it was too late. The energy had been forcefully pulled from Quinn, and the message had disappeared. Quickly opening his eyes, he could see Leo standing back with his arm held out, as if it was on fire, but Quinn was unable to see what he could see. While forcefully pulling the energy out, he had not only pulled out his and Quinn's ki into his body, but the strange purple aura surrounding it. He could see the force entering his body from his arm, and it was quickly taking over and spreading. "Are you okay?" Quinn asked worriedly. "It's not your fault, boy. I was too rash. I should have known you were different, so your body may have reacted differently. Just don't say another word while I concentrate," Leo said as he sat down on the floor and closed his eyes. He tried his best to combat the strange purple energy that was now inside him with his own, moving his ki to combat it, but it was a force he was unfamiliar with. "System, what's going on?" As Quinn asked that question, his dull brown eyes started to light up red, and a connection was starting to be felt between his energy and the one flowing through Leo's body as well. "Blood ritual skill activated." "No, what have I done? Cancel! Cancel!" Quinn shouted out loud, not caring if Leo heard or not. This was something he never expected. This wasn't what he wanted to happen. It wasn't his decision to turn someone like this. No matter how much Leo tried to get rid of the strange purple energy, the only thing he could do was slow it down. Eventually, he realized that the purple energy would take over his entire body. "I'm sorry," Quinn said, as his knees hit the floor and he knelt in front of Leo. Leo opened his eyes, and even if he couldn't see out of them, it was a natural reaction for him when talking to someone. His eyes looked different from before. They too had started to glow red. He could hear the sniffles and sobs coming from Quinn. It gave him an idea of what was happening to him. The boy known as Peter once had regular human energy flowing through him. That one day changed to purple as well. "This is not your fault, boy. This is partially my fault as well. We as humans all make mistakes. That's how we learn. Whatever is about to happen, I'm ready." He no longer fought back the purple energy, and now it was able to spread across his whole body freely. But Leo didn't feel weak as such. He felt stronger and more alive than ever. "Blood ritual was a success. The human has successfully been blooded 2 out of 3. Even though I tried to stop it, I still couldn't. What have I done?" Quinn thought as he looked at the message that appeared in front of him. "Blood ritual was a success. The human has successfully been blooded 2 of 3. A new member of the cursed family has been created. Leo Suyan is now a vampire. Additional information available when using Inspect." There was a tiny bit of relief when Quinn had seen that Leo had transformed into a vampire rather than one of the available subclasses. It was one less problem for him to deal with. This was perhaps due to how much strength he already had, but then again, he could only make guesses because he didn't know how the whole thing seemed to work. But still, there was no way he could be happy about this. He had just turned someone unwilling. It wasn't like Peter, where the only option was to save his life, and it wasn't like Layla, who had requested him to. "Inspect. Leo Suyan. Ability, none. Class, vampire, unable to evolve. A vampire's senses and overall stats are improved. The user will be stronger and faster. Under sunlight, their strength will weaken. They will now be able to perform blood abilities. Blood abilities being used will cause the user's health to deteriorate quicker and their hunger to grow faster. The user must consume blood when needed. Further class evolutions available. Vampire Noble, Vampire Knight, Error. The vampire is unable to evolve at this point and time. The vampire cannot surpass its leader in rank." "That's a little strange," the AI said, reading the message along with Quinn. "Usually vampires can evolve as long as they are strong enough. There are no such restrictions, although I guess this is a unique situation, as there has never been a vampire leader before who was only at the evolution stage of a vampire. I guess that does complicate things a little." However, Quinn didn't care about that for now. He was far too worried about how Leo would react. Not only had he turned him into a vampire, he had also made him lose his ability, something Leo relied on for his eyesight. "Leo, are you... How do you feel?" Quinn asked, carefully ready for him to possibly lash out in anger. "I feel great," Leo responded in a surprisingly upbeat tone. What he was saying was the truth, and it wasn't just to make Quinn feel better. He had felt like he had obtained a whole new body. His hearing was already sensitive before, but now it was even better. As for his eyesight, there was no improvement in that department. He was still unable to see anything. And your ability? Quinn asked. Leo then closed his eyes and tried to activate his ability, but there was nothing. The aura he could see before and the wireframe, everything he viewed objects, the walls, they could no longer be seen. Still, he did not panic. He took a deep breath and thought back to when he was at the temple. He started to focus his ki around his body. Eventually, he targeted the location of his eyes, the exact thing he did when he was a child, and there was a result. Looks like you do know what happened to me then. My ability seems to have weakened greatly. It's as if it returned to when I had first discovered it. Shocked by Leo's answer, Quinn quickly used the inspection skill again, and this time, he could see that the section by ability was no longer empty. The ability was also compatible with vampires. The only downside was his MC cells, which had been refreshed and had reverted to when he had first discovered his ability. It would take some time until it went back to normal, but Leo wasn't worried about this. As an original, there were no books he needed to learn from. He was the one who was able to grow his ability's power alone. He could silently practice whenever needed to. Even though his ability had weakened, he did not feel more disadvantaged than before. He felt like, with his other senses improved, they had more than lacked up for his ability power decreasing. Well then, I never thought I would ask you this question, as quite honestly, I didn't think I would get this deeply involved in your troubles, but it seems like I have done. So, what am I? Or maybe I should ask, what are we? Leo asked. This was something Quinn was never prepared for. He had envisioned telling people one day what he was, but not right now. Revealing the truth to his friends compared to his teacher was a lot harder for some reason. He wasn't ready, but he had to. He had to make sure Leo would be prepared for everything that would be coming towards him. It's a long one, and I'll explain as much as I can, Quinn said. The two of them sat down once again opposite each other. Looking at Leo, a smile could be seen on his face as he was found body. It made things a little easier for Quinn when speaking. Quinn started by explaining that he was a vampire. Leo didn't interrupt and allowed him to thoroughly explain everything. Quinn started with his own experience, stating how his body was stronger and faster and his sight was even better than before, although they quickly went over the sight part since it had nothing to do with Leo. Then the hard parts had come, the downsides of being a vampire. Leo would now be affected by sunlight and suddenly feel weaker during the day, and he would have to consume blood to fill his hunger. After finishing explaining everything about vampires, Quinn then also went to explain what had happened so far, and Leo was kept turning up, and also the relation to Fex. He felt like this part also needed to be explained, as there was a possibility, like how the others came after Peter, they could now come after Leo as well. After everything was said and done, Quinn looked downward at the floor, waiting for Leo's response. He couldn't even look at him right now. Leo was busy thinking about the women he had met at the event who tried stopping him, and the flask filled with blood. Everything made sense, and it seemed like even the vampires had their own set of rules to follow. You kids have had a lot on your shoulders this whole time. No wonder you had so many mistakes and mishaps along the way. This is too much for anyone, never mind someone your age, Leo responded. Wait, you're not mad? Quinn asked. What's the point of getting mad? What's done is done. There is nothing I can do to change it, and if I was to get mad, would it fix anything? Leo then stood up from where he was standing. He wished to test out his new body and skills. Without saying anything, he walked to the center of the martial arts hall, and Quinn watched carefully. He swung his blade as fast as he could in all sorts of directions. The speed was amazing that even Quinn, who had better eyesight than most, was struggling to keep up with it. Not just that, but the sound. He could tell from the sound alone those strikes would cause serious damage to anyone. While continuously swinging the blade, Leo could feel something strange. A new energy. It wasn't like the ki he typically used, but something was bubbling and boiling up inside of him. He continued to swing his blade until eventually he released this energy out of his sword with a strike. With the swing of the sword, shortly after a large line of red aura went out following it. The attack continued going forward until it had just disappeared before hitting the wall. Blood swipe, Quinn said. Oh, so I guess this is a skill from the vampires then. It seems powerful, Leo replied. But this wasn't any blood swipe. From looks alone, Quinn could tell it was larger, faster, and more powerful than any blood swipe he had ever produced. With Leo being strong before, and now with his vampire body and powers on top of it, he truly might have created a monster. What are you going to do now? If you want, I can help you. If you need blood, I have friends that can help. And if you have any questions you want to ask, I can help, Quinn said, still feeling guilty about the whole thing. Quinn, I still haven't changed my decision to leave this place. I think now that this has happened, it's given me more reason to do so than ever before. I hope you understand, said Leo. You know, if you wanted to, you could order him to stay, the system said. He would have to comply since he is under you. I know, but it's his life. Then before you go, please take this. Quinn removed the ring from his finger and threw it over to where Leo was. For a brief second, Quinn forgot he was blind and was afraid the ring would just hit the floor. But like a bat, based on the ting sound, he was able to locate roughly where it would be. Then the short range of his ability would do the rest. He grabbed it and felt around before realizing what it was. I'm guessing this isn't a normal ring? Leo asked as he could see the red aura surrounding it. That ring will allow you to walk freely in the daylight. It will make you feel human, and don't worry, I can make another one. You gave me 2 gifts, so at least let me give you this, Quinn said before he could refuse. If Leo was to be traveling on his own, unlike Quinn, he didn't have the system to help him. Any questions he had about the changes that were happening in his body, he would have to learn how to deal with it on his own. The ring would help him greatly. Quinn still had other ways to combat the sun, such as his shadow void and the suit. He also could always make another ring, but perhaps not one as good as the one he had obtained. Leo walked towards Quinn and stood in front of him. Remember what I taught you, that feeling. You need to practice it every day if you can. It will take a year or so until you get the hang of it, and when you do, come find me again. Then I will teach you the next step, and before I go— Leo then got down on one knee in front of Quinn. What are you doing? Quinn said. You said I now belong to your family, right? I don't know how this vampire stuff works, but I don't want to make the same mistake I made with my last master. I can already tell the connection between us two is now strong. If you are ever in trouble and I feel you are in danger, I, Leo Soyan, will come and protect you. With that, Leo got up from the floor and walked away. I can tell you now, the system said, he has the makings of a great vampire knight. But Quinn didn't care about that for now, because there was only one thought on his mind. You were the best damn teacher I ever had, Quinn said. I know we will meet again. You are being affected by direct sunlight. All stats will be reduced by 70%. It had been a while since Quinn had seen these messages, and he didn't miss it one bit. As soon as he stepped out into the sun from the martial arts hall, his whole body began to feel weak. The energy felt as if it was being drained from him. Although it wasn't as bad as he remembered, as he was still able to walk freely and didn't feel sick like before. This was due to him gaining a large amount of stats since the last time. Right now, he could move about like an average human in the sun. However, it still seemed to give him a headache, as he stayed out after 5 minutes. It was a shame that Leo had left, but Quinn had done his best to inform him of all the troubles he had gone through, hoping that he might be able to deal with it better. He had more information when Quinn first turned, and also had the ring to help him out. For some reason, he felt Leo would be okay. Even if he did come across another vampire, based on what he saw in the martial arts hall, he would be worrying about them rather than Leo. In turn, Leo had also given Quinn a training routine to practice his ki every day. For now, it would be pretty much useless in a fight, Leo explained, but at a certain point in time, everything would start to click. The crystals that had been given to him were able to be stored in the system. When he was checking out the shop, Quinn was hoping it would unlock a type of weapon for him, but there was no success. If he wanted a new pair of gauntlets, he would have to find someone to make it for him. Not just anyone, but a talented forger who would be able to also do a second unlocking. Otherwise, it would only be a waste. With the sun starting to set, it meant the day was soon to end. With this, Quinn decided that he would head off to the VR room. It was his long-awaited promise to Nate. On the way there, he started to notice something different walking through the halls. Casually, people would look at him. There were still many students surprised that Quinn was as strong as he was that day, but that wasn't what felt strange or different. Even as a level 1, there would be those that stared at him or would treat him as if he was invisible. Looking down at his watch, he could see the number 6 on display. What felt different was the fact that no students were calling him names, no one purposely barged into him, and no one was trying to start a fight. So this is what it feels like, huh? But then, as soon as Quinn turned around the corridor to enter the VR center, he saw 3 boys pinning a student up against the wall. On his wristwatch was a level 2 power level. Why didn't you do what we asked? We told you that we needed that project by tonight, the student yelled as he slammed the level 2 student up against the wall again. Stop that! A voice from behind was heard. "What do you want?" the kid said as he turned around and immediately recognized who it was. "Oh, you," the kid said nervously. "Just let the guy go. You wouldn't be doing this if he was same level as you, would you?" said Quinn. "Shut up. I bet you think you're hot crap now, don't you, Quinn?" another student said by his side. "But we ain't weak, and there's 3 of us. I bet we could still kick your arse." 3? Didn't these guys see me fight 12 with the multiplier? I guess math isn't their strong point. "Well, how about we make it a 3-on-3? Another student said as they appeared from behind Quinn. As soon as they saw who this was, the students immediately stormed off without saying another word. The student who was pinned up against the wall thanked them both before running off as well, and when Quinn turned around, he could finally see who had come to his side. It was a student with bright red spiky hair. He had seen him once before in the interrogation room. Berg Sunshield, one of the students from the Big Four. "You know, it won't change anything. They'll just start doing it in secret instead," Berg said. "At least that will lessen the bullying somewhat," Quinn replied as he walked off into the room. Quinn disliked the Big Four. Even though they wielded so much power, even as students, they did nothing to change the situation. It was as if they liked the way things were set up, so he decided to shrug Berg off and continue with his business. "Ah," Berg said in frustration. "Why the hell did our leader tell us to look over that guy?" Inside the VR center, Quinn paid for his booth and entered the game as usual. "Welcome, Bloody Volver." Checking his friends list, he was surprised to see that both Nate and Sam were online. It had only been a few moments, but almost immediately he had received an invite to a fight. Quinn had decided to decline the invite. "What, so I can't find the cursed child and now the Bloody Volver won't even speak to me?" Nate said in anger. "What kind of day is this? That's it, I give up. It's time to call it a day and log off." But just as Nate was about to, he had received an invite from the Bloody Volver to have a match. "What is this crap? Is he playing tricks with me?" "What happened?" Sam asked after coming back from training inside the white gaming room. "I invited the game, he then declines and invites me back." Sam suddenly realized that his guess was spot on and started to laugh at the fact that Nate hadn't understood yet. He had decided to invite him in a way to reveal who he was to Nate. During the tournament, he said he promised to fight with him. It was his way of telling him he was the Bloody Volver. "Just accept," Sam said. The match was accepted, and as Sam was following Nate as a spectator, he too was transported to the same room as the two. When Nate arrived, he was ready to give the Bloody Volver an earful, but Quinn was the first to speak out of the two. "So, like I promised, I will fight you if you wish," Quinn said. For a second, Nate paused. The cogwheels in his brain were starting to spin, and the words spoken sounded familiar, but it was like he had no frame of reference. It was nearly there as the pieces began to turn, and then finally it had clicked. Wait, no, no, Nate said as he pointed his finger at the avatar in front of him, shaking. "You're saying you're the cursed child." He quickly opened up his system to confirm that he was indeed in a match with the Bloody Volver. Then his head started to hurt even more. "But how? Your abilities, they're not the same." "Nate, right?" Quinn said, which was the final nail in the coffin. Only Quinn, the cursed child, knew his real name instead of his in-game name. "It's a little complicated, but as the shadow power isn't a publicly owned power, I can't use it in the system." Nate stood there still for a while as he started to process everything. His whole world had been turned upside down in an instant. Now thinking about it, the set of moves used in the event, the flash steps, the fancy kicks, it was something he should have figured out sooner. But the belief that a person could only have one ability was what was stopping him from believing that. But he didn't care about what secrets he had. If he was in the same position, he probably wouldn't tell anyone what was going on either. He only had one thing to ask. "Are you able to fight at full strength in the game?" Quinn shook his head. "I can't," he replied. "Then this is not our stage to fight. If you can't use your shadow powers here, then even if I defeat you, it won't feel like a victory. I already beat you before, but I want to fight the real you." Quinn smiled, as he expected this. Although he was looking forward to a fight, he too wanted to fight Nate at full strength, and while in the game. Even Nate would be disadvantaged in the game, as it wasn't able to emulate a soul weapon, as well as the fact that Quinn was able to use his blood attacks freely with no consequences. "I wish to fight you at full strength as well one day," Quinn replied. The two had a strange relationship. Even though they wished to fight each other, it wasn't like enemies. It was just out of display for pure skill. I'm in my second year now, which means I won't be in the military next year. But if you wish to find me, we will always be able to connect and contact each other through this game. Keep in touch, Nate said as he logged off the game in a hurry. Wait, what? What the hell's happening? Tell me, Sam cried from the arena seats as he, too, quickly logged off after Nate. Once Nate had exited the pod, his knees were shaking so much that he nearly fell to the floor. He tried his best to walk forward, then soon realized his whole body was shaking. The cursed child, the blood evolver, they're both the same person. Who the hell are you, Quinn Talon? Nate thought. Once Quinn had exited out of the pod, it was time to call it a day. Even though tomorrow was still the weekend, he still had a tough day ahead of him. Not only did he need to explain to the others what had happened to Leo, but there was still one more promise he needed to keep, and he wanted to deal with it sooner than later. A ghoul to a white and Leo a vampire. I wonder what Layla will turn into. After searching the whole room and hiding the black ball, Layla had finished getting rid of every trace of Pure there was in her room. That included her things as well. Pure didn't have many agents or students who could infiltrate the base while it was still the school term, so she was safe for now, but it still worried her. Although she was safe now, what would she do once the summer holidays arrived? The original plan was to head back to the Pure base, but that was no longer an option. Pure didn't know what happened to her, and if she didn't have a good excuse for not responding, perhaps she would have been thrown out of the 100 ranks and banned from coming back to the school. I wonder if Mama's even worried, she thought as she lay in her bed, completely worn out from the search. Just then, a knock was heard at the door. Layla, is it okay if we come in? It's the doctor and Sia is with me as well, Haley said. Yeah, sure, Layla shouted. As the door slid open, Sia came in with the doctor behind her, but Layla was amazed when she saw Sia. She looked like an almost entirely, utterly different person. One of her hands was rubbing the other up and down, and she was nervously looking around the room. She looked like a piece of glass that was on the verge of shattering any second. Now you take your time in here, okay, while I go talk to your roommate. Don't worry, Layla is one of the kindest girls I know, and you two used to get along, Haley said, unsure if that was true or not, but just wanted to do everything she could to comfort her. Haley, the school doctor, and Layla had left the room to have a small talk with each other. I don't know if you already know this, but Sia seems to have forgotten everything that happened. We don't know why, and since she was found in the hotel lobby, we can't link it to anything either. It's been a few days since this happened, and there have been no signs of recovery. What we want to do is slowly adjust her back to her old routine. Hopefully, it might spark something back in her. You know the doctor's office is always busy, and she can't stay there forever. I would have liked her to stay for a bit longer, but I can't, which is why I'm asking if you can look after her. If you notice anything strange or out of the blue, please come to see me straight away. Is that okay? Hearing all this, Layla felt obliged to say yes. After all, it was partly her fault that all her memories had been removed in the first place. Yeah, that's fine. I will look after Sia. Can I just ask, have the school tried contacting her parents about this at all? Layla asked. Yes, we wanted to inform them immediately, but with the details that are registered, we aren't able to get in touch. If we do, I'll let you know straight away, Haley replied, and left as soon as she finished, since she had a hectic schedule ahead of her. Entering back in the room, she could see Sia had opened her wardrobe and was looking at her clothes and items as if they were all foreign to her. After that, she pulled out her bag from underneath the bed, and with the things inside, she picked them up one by one, but still, she could not remember anything. Do you know me well? Sia asked with her voice shaky, as if it was about to crack. Layla came over and sat on her bed, which was not too far from Sia's, while looking at her. No one at the school knows each other that well, since we all came from different schools before, but we were roommates since day one, and you and I used to be on the same team. Through her words, she could see that Sia was trying to remember, trying to think back if there was anything, but there was nothing. After realizing this, Sia started to break down in tears again. She was crying with her hands covering her face and sobbing away. Layla quickly came over and, out of instinct, gave her a big hug to her side. It's okay, Sia. Even if you don't remember everything, it doesn't matter. You can make new memories, right? Who knows, maybe your life before was a bad one. But Sia continued to cry. It didn't matter if it was a bad one to her. She just wanted to remember who her parents were, how she grew up as a kid. She couldn't even remember the person who was comforting her right now, and it was all a terrifying thought. Will she be like this forever? Layla started to think. Perhaps removing all her memories was too cruel in the end. I should ask Quinn tomorrow if there's anything we can do. That night, the two girls decided to sleep in the same bed together. It was the only thing that made Sia feel safe now, having someone who knew her next to her. The next day, when Layla had woken up, she looked at her wristwatch to notice it blinking away. Sia's face by her side was a little puffy from all the crying. She quickly got out of bed and listened to the message quietly. Layla, if you still want to do this, let's all meet in the park forest where we trained with Peter at 10 a.m. Everyone in the group will be there. The message had been sent by Quinn. Looking at the watch, she realized it was 9 a.m. now, so she quickly got dressed and did her best to get ready as soon as possible. The sound of opening and closing of wardrobes had eventually woken Sia up as she rubbed her swollen red eyes to see Layla in a rush to go somewhere. Why are you up so early? Sia asked. I have to go for my usual morning, run, Layla replied. Can I come with you? Sia asked. Hearing these words deeply hurt Layla. She could tell she was afraid to be left alone still, but she had no choice. You get some rest. I need to leave now, but I promise when I'm done and come back, we can spend all the time you want together, she replied as she rushed off and left the room. Yesterday, while returning to his room, Quinn opted to act normal about everything that had happened so far. He planned to meet everyone the next day anyway, so it would have been best to explain everything in one go. He had yet to tell Vorden about what happened to Leo. All the boys were in the park woods. They were quite deep in the actual park, and no one would travel in here unless they were up to no good or just wanted to go for a walk through the woods. Logan had spread out his little spiders in all directions in a large circular manner. That way, if someone had decided to come into the woods, they would know. So, anything interesting happened to you guys yesterday? Vorden asked, trying to break the boredom while waiting. He hated to admit it, but everything had been kind of normal so far, and due to all the excitement that had happened, things felt boring. The usual, just working on tinkering with my gadgets. I could go into detail about what I managed to accomplish yesterday if you're bored, Logan replied. No thanks, Vorden said, knowing he would be bored out of his mind listening to Logan. Well, I certainly have some interesting news for you all, but we'll wait until Layla gets here. The sound of footsteps and rustling leaves could be heard stomping on the ground. No one was worried as Logan didn't cause any alarm, and shortly after, they could see Layla arriving all huffing and panting. I'm sorry I woke up a little late, Layla said. Oof, and on your big day as well, huh? Said Vorden. The groups were standing in a circle in the forest, and Quinn walked into the center to speak to them all. First, before we do this, I have something important to tell you all. It's about Leo. Quinn proceeded to tell the others what had happened yesterday. He didn't go into details about Key, as it seemed to be something that was meant to be kept secret and passed down to those they chose. Still, he explained how Leo had been accidentally turned while trying to help Quinn get stronger, also informing them how he had chosen to leave the school. Everyone was shocked by this. They couldn't even believe what they had just heard. It was as if one surprise had come after another as Quinn explained the details. Wait, so you're saying Leo's a vampire now, just like you? Then, is he okay with blood? Is everything going to be okay? Vorden said in a panic. He seemed to think this was a huge problem, while Quinn remained calm. I think he will be okay. It seems like he already left yesterday night, Quinn said, placing his fist on his chest. The connection between the two was now gone, meaning he was no longer close by. I explained everything to him, and you, Vorden, should know how powerful he is. Vorden started to think back about when he had copied Leo's power. Even for him and the multiple different powers he had wielded before, Leo's was surely special and different. Since we're involved in this, I thought you guys should know, especially since right now we're about to dive in even deeper. It seems like being human is quickly going out of fashion, Logan commented. Now, everyone was looking at Logan strangely. Was that supposed to be a joke? Layla thought. Right now, they didn't know what was more shocking, the fact that Leo, their teacher, had turned into a vampire, or that Logan had tried to make a joke. Ignoring the small comments, Quinn wanted to get down to business and turned to look at Layla. Now, we don't know what's going to happen to you. You could turn into a ghoul like Peter, but this time we have Logan helping us, so we shouldn't have the same complications as before. Or you could turn into a vampire like Leo. We have Vorden's blood for that." "Ah, geez, now I'm going to be your little snack bar for you two," Vorden commented. "Or you could become something that we haven't seen before. Are you sure you want to go through with this, because there's no turning back?" Quinn asked. "As long as it will make me stronger, then yes. I'm sick and tired of being useless to you guys, and before you say I'm not, you need to start looking at the people who are coming after us. As we make more enemies and go higher up, they keep getting stronger and stronger, and I want to rescue Erin from Pure. At the time, I did what I thought was right to save her, and I know she will be safe, but the longer she stays there—" Layla didn't finish her last sentence, but after learning of their strange tactics and the death pill that Sia had, Quinn knew the place wasn't the best. "I understand." Blood ritual activated. Just like before, while performing the blood ritual on Peter, they decided to lay Layla down on a pile of leaves. "This should make it feel a little better," Quinn said proudly of himself, as he had spent quite a bit of time sorting out the leaves to form a bed shape. Logan stood on one side, while Vorden stood on the other. After helping Quinn prepare everything, both of them took a step back away. "Hey, you don't have to be scared of me," Layla said. "Come on, it's me." Logan nodded while taking another step even further back. "It's always best to be careful, especially when we don't know the probabilities. I'm sure you understand." The boys were just making Layla feel even worse. It seemed unlikely that she would be turned into something that the others should be truly scared of, but the words of the others had gotten to her. When Quinn was about to begin the next steps, she grabbed him by the wrist. "Not that I'm having second thoughts or anything, but do you know what I could turn into?" she asked. Quinn himself didn't know the answer to this, so instead he reverted the question to his system. That is quite a hard question to answer," the system said. "You see, I'm not even sure even now, as back then, you must have heard many tales about creatures or demons. They were around during my time, so I would assume they are still spread today as folklore. The truth is, all those tales had originated from somewhere and had some type of truth to them, most of them being subclasses of vampires. You have the classes that are closely related to the vampires. With these types, I would place them in something called Category A. They are similar to your standard vampire, but perhaps a little unique, comparing them with slight differences. Some of these can evolve into vampires. Later on, some branch slightly. A few examples including a halfling, you should know this one quite well, a fledgling, thrall, and dhampir. These skills tend to be well balanced in terms of skill. They have good magic and melee abilities, with each one having their specialties when they later evolve. The next category is Category B. I call this one the Undead category. This is where Peter, White, Wendigo, and a few others fit into. These have next to no magical power, but most of them make up for it with their melee attack strength. And finally, you have Category C. I call these the Others. I know it's lame, but truthfully it's because they don't have much in common with each other, or at least not as much as the others. They usually tend to be strong in magical power, while weak in the speed and strength department many vampires are known for. Examples are Succubus, Blood Fairy, and the Banshee. The upside about this category is they usually don't have a huge negative to them like the others. Category A all need some form of blood. Category B need flesh, whereas C, although different, depending on what they turn into, don't need something as difficult as the first two. Of course, there are more than the examples I have given you, but if you wanted me to list them all, we would be here all day. Back in the day, I did quite a bit of research on this, so you have come to ask the right person. But even as great as I am with my vast amount of knowledge, cannot pinpoint the exact reason or thing that will determine what one will change into. Besides, just because you know what she can turn into won't influence what she will turn into at the end of the day. After hearing those answers, Quinn started to have second thoughts, but a promise was a promise. Whatever you turn into, I promise we will deal with it. With that said, Quinn continued the ritual as Layla closed her eyes. Using the tip of his fingernail, he caused a small cut in the palm of his hand. He then placed it above Layla's mouth, and, as with it wide open, allowed the blood to drip inside slowly. A vampire's blood alone wouldn't be enough to turn someone. One would have to activate the blood ritual skill first, which he had already done. The blood continued to drip and go down her throat, and then when it reached her stomach. The process had begun. Her eyes suddenly opened wide and were glowing red, and Quinn's were beginning to glow red as well. Just like with Peter, as the energy went through her body, it started to shake violently. There was no pain, though, and eventually, as the blood quickly took over her body and radically transformed it, the connection had stopped, and her body had stopped shaking. "Is it done?" Vorden asked. "So, what is she?" Layla's eyes had started to open slowly. Her vision was a little blurry as she seemed to be adjusting to things, and eventually lifted herself off the ground. A few leaves stuck to her, and she quickly brushed them off her clothes before looking up at the boys, who seemed to be now all staring at her. What's wrong? Oh no, is it my face?" she said, worried about what she might have turned into. "My teeth! My feet!" She looked down at her body and felt her teeth, but could feel or see nothing. But the boys continued to stare at her until Vorden eventually pointed to the top of her head. "No, you have little..." Vorden was speaking so slowly it was beginning to annoy her. As she felt the top of her head, she felt 2 little bumps just between where her hair was. "No, they're horns!" she shouted. "Quinn, what is this? What type of vampire has horns?" "Wait, calm down, just give me a second." Layla was quite knowledgeable when it came to vampire-type creatures. She had heard of many of them, and even heard of what Peter had become, but she couldn't think of a single creature with horns on top of her head. While she was waiting for Quinn's reply, she continually tried feeling them. It seemed like nothing else about her had changed. Still, she was continually playing with the small bumps on top of her head. Thankfully, they didn't stick out too much, and did just look like 2 little lumps. "The blood ritual was a success. 3 of 3 family members successfully blooded. A new member has been added to the cursed family. You have successfully created a Nominari Hanya." Nominari Hanya. Hanya are emotional beings. Their powers and strength fluctuate based on their emotions, and they are more sensitive than regular beings. They are typically prone to jealousy and negativity. They often feed off the negativity of those around them, as well to power up their powers. Their powers specialize in dark and spiritual magic. Current skills. Spiritual partner. A link is formed between 2 people. Any attack that would hurt one or the other can be passed on to the other person. A spiritual partner can be changed at any point in time, but must be in the same zone as the user when being used. Spiritual chains. A ranged attack. A dark black energy ball of negativity is hurled at the target. If successfully hit, it will root the enemy for a certain amount of time. The chain's time and strength depend on what mental state of both the user and opponent are at the time. Based on what the system had explained before, it looked as if Layla had turned into the Type C category. A user strong in magic, but didn't get a regular vampire's normal buffs, such as strength, speed, and agility. Most of what Quinn read didn't seem to be too bad, and the magic skills would come in handy, just like with Peter and the others before. The MC cells would have been reset, meaning Layla no longer had her telekinesis ability. If she wanted to, this was a chance to change her ability if she felt the need to. The only thing that did worry him was the first few lines. Suddenly, he could hear the sound of crying coming from Layla's direction. "I'm so ugly, aren't I? These horns! Who's going to date me now?" she said as she continued to sob. "Layla, you're not ugly," Vorden said, trying to calm her down. "Shut up!" she shouted back. "I think they're, kind of cute," Vorden said with a blush on his face. At that point, both Logan and Quinn turned to look at Vorden. They didn't know if he was just trying to cheer her up. "Come on," Quinn said. "Let's go for a walk," he said, shaking his head, realizing this would be a different kind of trouble that they weren't used to.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.